to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to another episode of A Well-Designed Business. Today I have the pleasure of introducing you to Belinda Nihill, the Australian designer who is the principal behind Nest Design Studio, which you may know from Instagram because she has more than 18,000 followers there. Now, Belle and I are going to talk about how she set herself apart from other interior designers in Australia. And the way she did it was very, very specific. And before we get to that conversation, I want to suggest to you that you might set yourself apart by taking advantage of our sponsor, Camp Chroma's online on-demand course for becoming an expert color strategist. That's right. You can become an expert in color, a real expert, by learning how to harness the same science and color systems that global industries use. As a color certified strategist, you will stand out in your market because you will have a unique evidence-based approach to color that you can offer your clients. You can master the practical application of extraordinary color expertise at Camp Chroma, your online color education resource. To learn more, go to campchroma.com. Okay, now, Belinda found this podcast just a month ago, and she emailed me saying how happy she was that she found it and that she loved hearing all of the stories that each of you, our colleagues, have shared with us on the podcast. And she said, and I want you to know all the times that you talk on the show about niching your firm and suggesting that designers do it. And sometimes when some designers have expressed a fear or reluctance to do it, she said, I want to tell you it works. I did it for my firm and it works. Because you see, Belle had been working as a qualified interior designer for over 15 years. And then after the arrival of her first child, she decided to start a blog. And this blog focused only on children's spaces. And today on the show, Belle is going to tell us how from this tiny niche blog, Nest evolved into a successful boutique design firm with clients all around the globe, in Australia, in the U.S., France, Ireland, Dubai, Canada, and more. To date, Belle has designed over 500 rooms for the youngest members of her clients' homes. She's recognized nationally and internationally. That Nest Design Studio has been featured in over 25 magazines worldwide and profiled on a variety of other media outlets. Nest was included in the House and Garden Top 50 Rooms of 2015, and in 2016, Belle released her first book, Beautiful Babies' Rooms. Building on her reputation for being a leader in children's interior field and due to the demand from her clients, Belle has now gone back and extended Nest to include both residential and commercial interiors. So she's gone full circle, right? From being full interiors to niching to nursery and children design. And now, after gaining the recognition and the experience and becoming an industry leader, she is now going back out and expanding her firm. Okay, she is also a member of the Design Institute of Australia. So I'm very excited to introduce you to Belinda Nihill. Hi, Belinda. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, Luann.
So, Belinda, you emailed me telling me how you found the show, first of all, through the interior design community. Is that on Instagram or Facebook? Did you find it?
On Instagram.
Right. So that's Lori Lejour's group, and that's an amazing group of designers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been really interesting reading comments.
Lori doesn't shy away from putting something up there that makes you think, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Once we started talking, I found out that you do in your interior design firm exactly what we have learned over and over and over and over and over for 2.5 years now, from many of your colleagues and from experts, that niching your interior design business is a huge catalyst to growing your design firm, right?
Yeah, I definitely couldn't have grown just staying as a general interior designer as I have specializing into the kids' areas.
So, your little backstory is that you were a full service interior designer. You're a generalist, like you just used, generalist interior designer, and you had your first child, and you told me you were a bored mom.
Yep,
Tell
I
us a little
was.
bit about that.
I'd resigned from my position knowing that it wouldn't work for me going back to work part-time or full-time, just for my family when after we'd had my eldest. So it grew from reading other people's blogs, filling a bit of time because I had a sleeping baby, to starting my own blog and to growing to service clients focusing on children's rooms.
And this blog, when you started it, Belinda, now you have said to me that you listen to the show on a regular basis and you actively learn from the different conversations that we have and that you're applying them to your business. When you started this blog, did you do the same process? Did you investigate and read up about the best practices of blogging and so forth? How did you go about it?
No, no research at all. I just registered I think it was a Blogspot name back then, and started blogging because I'd saved so many images when I was researching for my eldest nursery. I just thought, well, I might as well save them while I've got time. So yeah, it was no research, just straight into it.
Okay, so a lot of people start a blog for pleasure, for passion, for, like you said, you had time with the sleeping baby, but not everybody's turns into something that really creates a pretty significant business. You have said to me, well, I read it on your website that in the 8 years that you've been in business, you have completed nearly 500 nursery projects and children's rooms projects, correct?
Yep, that's
Yes.
right.
And of course, that averages about 60 a year. So you're not doing them all in person. A lot of that is e-design, but that's
Yeah.
still a heck of a lot of work to be doing. And so what do you feel like looking back, did you do in the blog that made it grow and that helped it feed your business?
Um, I've always kept it quite personal, so I share my family. I do that on Instagram still now as well, but I think I just connected with the community, and then they were able to share the work, or share the blog posts, and then also popping my son's room on Project Nursery was a huge change that got a lot of eyes on the blog.
What is Project Nursery? Is that something I should know about? I don't know.
It's a website where you can just upload pictures of your nursery or children's room, and they've also got a blog associated with it as well.
Oh, okay. And is that based in Australia or the US, or it's
No, that's US based.
okay. So
Yeah.
I never heard of that. So there is a place called Project Nursery that people who are interested, I'm assuming just homeowners, design enthusiasts, as well as interior designers that post their
Yeah.
specifically project nurseries.
Yeah, it's kind of pre-Pinterest days. It was a
Ah.
way back then. They'd started a bit before I had started. So for me, it was a way of gathering inspiration as well, but then grew from sharing my own kids' rooms.
Oh, okay. Is it as significant a platform now, like you said, since Pinterest has become such a big search engine? Do they still have a good presence? I don't know anything about them.
I believe so. I haven't been on it much lately, but I do believe it's still quite big.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that happened to be a lucky break. It sounds like to me that you
Yeah.
had your son's nursery and you put it on there, and it got a lot of eyeballs on it. It happened probably was very well designed.
Well, I mean, and it was a time back then, people didn't specialize or focus on kids' rooms as much as it is done today. So I guess I got in there early,
Mm-hmm.
and people saw the possibilities.
Okay. Okay. So the thing about it is that I hear what you're saying, that you feel like you got in on it early, but even these 8 years later, would you say that you definitely still agree with leading with a particular skill or niche or talent when trying to establish who you are as an interior designer?
Yeah, I do. Look, for me, it was pretty straightforward. This is what I'm going to do. And I guess it's just about finding what you're passionate about,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's eco design or whether it's specializing just in bathroom designs. But yeah, for me, it was definitely the catalyst for growing the business.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so, what happened? Did you you start the blog? You've designed in your own nursery for your oldest son. You put it in Project Nursery. It's starting to happen. Is it 3 months, 6 months? Is it a year? Is it 3 years before you started to feel like, huh, this is more than me and my friends and my family reading this blog? What was the growth?
Um, I I would say it's within 6 months. Um, Again, it goes back to the community that I started interacting with other blogs, and they started interacting, and we all kind of had kids of the same age. So yeah, 6 months.
Okay.
The blog was getting some good traction.
And can you look back and think of some other things that you did that you can say, I might have stumbled onto that by chance or by natural instinct, but looking back, these were some of the catalysts for the blog being successful? You said the one thing was that you were always quite personal. So that worked for you. What were some of
Mm.
the other things that you can look back and say, that worked too?
Um, I probably shared. I haven't blogged for a long time, but back then I was sharing a lot of other people's work as well. Um, so you just email them and say, "Hey, I love your room. I've shared it on my blog," and then they would share that as well. So in terms of sharing online, that's probably been the best direction for me. And then in press, I had my eldest nursery featured in a baby magazine called Little One Baby
Hmm.
back then as well.
And two questions in that. So when you selected other designers' work to put in your blog post, you didn't email first asking, you put it in the blog post and then shared with them and told them you admired their work and here's what I did.
It's probably a bit half and half
Okay.
back then.
So
Yeah.
sometimes you would ask, could I put your work in my blog and credit you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And did you ever either way, either ask ahead of time or include and then share, and somebody said to you, I don't want that to happen?
Um, Not that I can remember.
Okay. Do you think
No.
that's a byproduct of that? It was clear that you were truly admiring their work and being respectful and showing credit, or do you think you just got lucky, or any thoughts on that?
Look, it was probably a bit of both. I was probably lucky because I didn't do any research back then of what blogs and image credit should be. Um, but at the same time, I if my work is credited to me, then I don't mind who shares it.
Right. It sounds like you took it as, what would I like? What would I think is okay?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. And did you have any strategy in that, Belinda, in that you looked for designers to share that were at similar level with you? In other words, I'll use Candace Olsen as an example because that's the first person that came to my head. And not that she's a nursery designer. But in other words, if Candace Olsen were a nursery designer, would you have looked and said, I'm not going to email her, or I'm not going to share her work because that's crazy pants. She's never going to answer me. Did you have that, or were you all over the gamut? Some were, with tens of 20s. I don't even know if Instagram was that
it's
a big
completely
thing.
random.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
So you
completely
didn't
random.
no strategy. Okay.
No.
This is crazy, Belinda. Well, you know what it does? It says to me that first of all, that you have good instincts, number one. But number two, it says to me that the work and the quality probably of the work that you did yourself, the images that you curated from others, and the way you shared it, your perspective, your slant, your discussion about it, probably has a very unique voice, an authentic voice, because to go about this without the game plan and to have reached this level of success is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's a bit of a fluke, really. I'm asked quite regularly, like, to speak at business things in the last few years, and people do ask, so how did this happen? And I got no idea.
Okay. Well, I have to say, we've recently had Laurel Byrne on the show, and Laurel Byrne literally, I think the same thing to some extent. She expressed what she didn't say that it happened by fluke so much, but she said that it took, what she said was it took 18 months to 2 years for it to be done the right way. And and she said, and what she did was she looked back and she made a 150-page guide on everything to do the right way so that you can cut through the first 18 months or 2 years of mistakes that she made, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. So, but this is interesting that, it just happened for you, right? So, okay. So now let's pull out of this. So you are at home, first baby, it's within 1 year of doing this blogging, and what's happening? People are starting to come to you and email you from all over the world, because you're getting the recognition coming from this Project Nursery and from this magazine, and so therefore you immediately just like, well, I'm going to have to do e-design because this person is calling me from Paris.
Yeah, well, the very first client was, I didn't charge because I didn't know what I was doing. They'd emailed me because they'd found the blog and said, hey, I need some help. Would you be able to? And they were from Queensland, which is north of where I am, quite a few hours.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was never, my first one was never local. And then most of the early ones were actually from the US. I think the early adapters to children's rooms, rather than people looking at me strangely when I said I do children's rooms.
Okay. And were there more than one that you did at no charge in the beginning, Belinda? Or was it that first one and then you decided, okay, I got to figure this out?
Just the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so now the second call comes, and it comes from the U.S. The second inquiry comes from the U.S. And do you go and research how to charge for e-design at this point, or do you just make it up as you go along?
I think I was making it up back then too.
I love it. I love it.
I probably did. I did a lot of research after I'd started things. So I don't remember, but I would say I've done a little bit of research, but most of it would have been making it up.
Okay. And what's your observation on that? So I'm, having fun with it, okay? And you know me, that I'm a researcher, and this is, on one hand, I get just jump in and do. I absolutely am with you on that, and I definitely am 100% in the camp of do, even if you don't know how to do it, rather than not do. I'm totally there. However, I am a researcher. So I will, look it all up and figure it all out. And then even if I think I've got 1/10 figured out, I'll still go. Okay. So I'm with you. Okay. But what's your hindsight lesson now? What have you changed maybe since this several years later? Doing 60 projects a year, you're not winging it anymore, right?
No, and if I was to start it now, knowing what I did, I probably would get bogged down in the research rather than just going for it. Yeah.
Okay. And so you've developed your systems over the years and on how to manage a project from across a continent and so forth.
Yeah, it's been the last 18 months to 2 years, 3 years probably, that I've really nutted down processes and still working on that. But they're definite, this is what happens point A to point B, etc.
Okay. And you mentioned to me before we started the show that you have listened to Cheney Widmer's show from Mix and Match Design. She specializes in e-design. Did you learn anything in particular from Cheney's episode, or did you do Cheney's course? What have you learned there?
No, I didn't do her course. So, I mean, I've been pretty established for a few years. So I think it's just taking away a lot. I think any design podcast that I listen to, especially yours, I take away little bits that I don't actually know that I'm taking away. And I do make little notes. I've got a booklet that I think, yeah, okay, well, I'll action that. I'll put something like that into action soon.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I love it. I think it sounds good. All right. So now tell me a little bit about how your business has grown. So you were doing full interiors, then left that position to have your baby, started to niche and attract business through nurseries. You do full interiors though still, correct? Is that right?
Yeah, I do. Yep.
And if you're doing 60 projects a year through e-design for the most part, what percentage are nurseries and which percentage are other types of interiors? Is it a mix at this point, or is it?
It's about 90% nurseries and kids' rooms,
okay,
and about 10% general interior design.
And how is that for you? Is that makes you happy, or are you now trying to move and swing the other way, or you're very happy in this lane?
I still love kids' rooms and I still want it to be the majority of my business. But locally, I want to work with clients doing full installations, again, of general interiors. So I've never actually had a client, a local client for installs. They've always been, I have to travel to them. So I would really like local clients.
Okay, I would think there should be some there. Now, what are there? It's one thing to do e-design and specialize in kids' rooms, because my grasp through talking with Cheney and Christina Perry, way back in the beginning of the podcast, does e-design, and Albie, who is her show is probably not aired yet, but the process is very similar for whether you're doing a nursery or you're doing a living room. Similar, not exact, but similar, right? Whereas,
it is, yeah.
Right? And so therefore the pricing could be similar, okay? So, and of course the pricing is generally more reasonable for e-design. So my question would be, to move and specialize in kids' rooms locally, do you see it? I understand you want to do full design, but where I'm going is it from a standpoint of, do nurseries and kids design tend to be less ticket price items? Right? You know what I'm asking you?
Look, every client's got a really different budget. Tonight I've been working one that's just $1,000, and then one that's $30,000
for a nursery.
And well, one's a nursery and one's a little girl's room.
Okay.
So the budget
Whoa.
Can be hugely different.
That's a nice client. Somebody who's happy to spend $30,000 on their little girl's room.
Yeah, I've only just started it tonight. So, it's going to be a good one.
Wow, that's amazing. See, because I was looking at it thinking, well, yeah, locally you would want to do more full service interiors because they're usually probably more profitable. You know, most people aren't going to pull a budget on a master bedroom the way they might pull a budget on you on a nursery. But it runs the gamut, as you're saying.
Yeah, so those ones are my e-design clients. But locally, I live in a very quite conservative town, and yeah, I think I'm better off going for general interior design where I live rather than pushing the kids side of things.
The thing is, though, that you have established yourself as an industry, leader in interior design. I mean, when anybody in your local area goes and looks at your Instagram and sees the tens of thousands of followers and sees your body of work, even if it is mostly nursery design, you have a presence, in other words.
Yeah,
There's
and
a
I hope
respect there, right?
yeah.
Are you feeling that, Belinda? Are you feeling that? I see it. Do you see it? Do you feel it, that you are established and that you have created something of worth here?
I've got good numbers. I'd like more. But yeah, no, I'm very happy with the position that I've grown the business, and being able to do that right from the very start before kids' rooms were a thing. So yeah,
And you have a book also that you have put together, Beautiful Babies' Rooms. How long ago
do.
did the book come out?
That was 2015.
Okay. And does the book do well for you as well?
Yeah, it was a side thing, but it's on 30,000 online stores.
Whoa.
It's on Amazon. I sell copies via my website as well.
Wow, that's amazing. That's terrific. And so that's money while you're sleeping.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And in the book, I noticed that you show the mood boards, you show the intention behind the nursery design, you show the process in your book.
Yeah, so it breaks it down and goes room by room of some of the rooms that I'd done up until then as to why I've picked pieces, and shared the process behind that.
And so it not only serves as inspiration, just simple eye candy for people who are looking for inspiration for their own, but you actually share the inside, like you said, the process, so that if somebody is never going to hire an interior designer, they have an idea of how to tackle a problem.
Yeah, so on top of the rooms, you do how to break down a shelfie, create the perfect shelfie, and other things like that. So you do get some general tips to put their own room together.
Okay, I think it's great. All right, so let's talk about where you are now and where you're going and what you see for the future. You have said that you are going to continue with the e-design, but that you would love to do more local full-service design. Tell us about your dreams for this, your plans for it mostly.
Yeah, so over the next 18 months to 2 years, for me, it's all about making sure that all the processes and the steps involved are all cemented in place. So when I have my youngest at school, I can go 5 days a week, and still work around the kids, but go 5 days a week, and just be quite solid with my clientele and have a lot of local businesses.
Okay, so you're looking ahead at a transition phase of your business, and we are recording this in the summer of 2018. And what you're saying is, in about a year and a half, your youngest will be in school full time. So all 3 of your children now will be in school full time.
Yeah, so I constantly say 2020. So I'm excited by 2020 when can run the business like I would love it to be running right now, but just not able to.
Okay. Because, this is the reality is that you're a mother of 3 little boys, and that's an important thing to lock down and make sure is done well. So when they go to school in Australia, is it an 8 to 3 day like it is here in the U.S.? What time frame will you have opened up to you?
9 till 3:30.
Okay. And so you are looking ahead and you are saying that this is my goal. What steps are you taking? Can you think of specific steps that you are taking other than the broad stroke of I want to get organized for this? What are you doing in particular?
So I've recently hired someone to do 3D elevations and renderings. So putting that's just not long been cemented in. Getting other subcontractors, getting VAs all set up so that I can outsource to them and focus on dealing with the clients directly, making sure that that the programs that I use are working exactly what we need them to be. And what I really want in 2020 is to have an external studio that I can have my clients come to there.
Okay. And is that important for the demographic of your area? You mentioned that they're conservative. Do you feel that, I wasn't sure if you're going to say an external studio and then follow it up with so that I can work in peace and so that I can leave. Like what I think about when I think
I really
about
want that too.
Yeah, right. But what I think about when I think about 3 little boys in the house, I think about even if I was working all day and they were at school, do I want to have to pick everything up so that now I can transition and we can do homework at this table or something like that? So I thought you were going to say something like, so I can walk away from my work and come back to my work and not have to pack it all up. But you mentioned so that you could see clients in the space. Is that something that is important to the type of clients that you want to attract, that you look as though you have a level of professionalism above working in your home?
Yeah, it is also getting out. I do have a separate office, and it
so
is
you can
all
just close
set
the
up.
door.
Yeah, I can. I walk in from pulling up from dropping them off at school and just walk straight into my office. I don't have to see the mess they've created down the back of the house. So I am lucky with that. But yeah, I think it's just creating the presence for locally.
Okay.
Having lots of space to have all my samples.
Okay. It is a different I have known many interior designers over my career that are 6-figure earners that work out of their home. It's a preference, personal preference. It doesn't mean you're any more professional than someone else, but sometimes it's just the way you want it to look to the outside, or maybe it's your own comfort level, the way you want it to feel. But you want to be able to have samples around you and access things. Or do you have a design center near where you are, Belinda?
No, there's nothing like that I've been able to find. Going on what I can see on Instagram and blogs, what you've got in America, what we've got here.
Oh, so there isn't even even if it were 3 hours away, there isn't a design, like we have design centers in almost every city. I shouldn't say that, every major city. Yeah,
and that's lots of businesses in the one place, isn't it?
Yes, that's in other words. In New York City, you have New York City, we have the D&D building, we have 200 Lex, we have the A&D building, where there are literally 18 and 20 floors of all interior vendors, from furniture to carpeting to lighting to accessories.
Yeah, no, everything's spread out. There's nothing quite like that, unless it's hiding from me, but I haven't
think you
come
would have found it by now.
it.
See, that's something I think we take for granted, and I have actually lamented with guests that I've had on the show where they might live in a more rural area of the U.S. and their closest design center is 5 and 6 hours away, and thought that was, how could you live like that, let alone there isn't one.
No, yeah, it's a lot of travel, a lot of going around to different suppliers.
So that's what you do. So, for instance, you're a lighting wholesaler versus a showroom for furniture and so forth. They're there. You have them. They're just not conveniently in one district.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. Have you ever come to the U.S. and gone to any of the High Point Furniture Market or Las Vegas Market?
No, I haven't.
You have to do that.
No.
Oh, my goodness.
On the list.
You have to do that before 2020. I've just put it on your to-do list. And I'm going to just share with everybody that you said to me that Belinda is the more introverted and Belle is the more outgoing. So, Belle, you got to come to the U.S.
She'll be fine. Belinda might not be.
Come on, Belle. You come to High Point Market. You can hang with our posse. Oh, my goodness. Okay. So that's a challenge. And so what happens? Do you mostly specify from online sources?
For all my e-design clients, I make sure that it's available to them wherever they are. And for my local, I go wherever we need to go to get the perfect piece, whether it's online or whether it's a supplier locally.
Are you mostly when you're doing e-design, it sounds like you're specifying to them retail pieces so that you might be okay. And when you do your local design, are you specifying a mix of retail and trade, or only one or the other?
No, it's a mix. It's actually a mix for the E as well, as long as I know that I can get it to them. If it's a trade source and I can order it and get it sent to them, I can do that too.
Okay. And do you charge differently when you set up your design fees? Whether do you like put in for execution fees and so forth?
No, not at the moment, because I don't want to be tied down to a supplier. I want to make sure that the piece is perfect for the client. So I don't want to be locked in and charge the client if I'm not going to have to go down that track.
Okay. All righty. And so let's talk a little bit more personally about your business, because you have this transition coming up. So would you say at this point, you're in business 8 years, and of course, granted, you've been raising little babies, little peoples. At this point, has your business been an income producer that your family relies on as part of their working budget, or has it been something where between yourself and your husband you've said, if I make 10,000 this year, if I make 30,000 this year, if I make 3,000 this year, it's all good? Where has your business been to date?
My husband and I are both comfortable that the business brings in whatever it brings in. I don't set targets. Most of it up until the last 18 months has been gone straight back into the business, whether that's websites or updating logos, etc. But the last 18 months, we've noticed that we've been able to draw from the business back into the family.
Okay, because when you talk about your goals for 2020, of course, if one of them is to have a studio space, among other things, now it's going to be important that you actually have an operations budget and you know what you need to sell and to bring in order to cover expenses. So, are you working with how are you addressing that? Because I'm sure there's a lot of your colleagues listening that are in a similar boat. I know there are, because I coach them. This is one of the biggest transitions that I'm understanding that designers are facing, where whether they're intending to move out of their home or not, notwithstanding, but where their intention is to move to a quantifiable, accountable level of business and net income based on their business, as opposed to, hey, whatever I do is good. I'm happy, the world's happy and my husband or my wife is happy. So, it's a transition. You have to do it intentionally. How are you managing that? Or have you only just begun to think about it?
It's been the last 6 months that I've intentionally sort of started to sit down and work out what I need to have an external studio and what that entails. My husband, I am lucky that my husband does all my finances, so I don't have to outsource that, and he gives me the budgets and what X comes in every month, and he does all the receipts that I don't have to do accounts, which is really lovely. So we're both working towards a target that we've set over the next 12 months.
Okay. But the thing is that you do have, it happens to be your husband, but you have somebody that you're sitting down with each month and reviewing and planning and understanding where the expenses are, where they're going to be, and what type of revenue you have to generate in order to cover it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's important, right?
Yes, yeah.
And is it do you find yourself approaching projects differently with this understanding now that it's going to matter more?
Yeah, I am consciously taking making an effort, whereas in the past I really haven't. It's just goes straight back into the business. But now it's that this is what I want and this is what I need to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. I feel like in the conversations that I've had with so many of our colleagues is that that's the corner that you have to turn, as opposed to just getting up and this is good and that's a great client and that was a great project. It's the corner is that you have to turn the corner, sit, look back and evaluate and understand what the profit and loss was for last month and what was it for the previous month and how do I move the needle this month. Do you do things, have you started to look at things like your fees? So whether it's a set fee for an e-design or a portion of an e-design or a consultation fee, have you started to look at these and recognize that in order to afford the studio and to hire out on some of these other things that you mentioned, that some of these numbers are going to have to move up?
Yeah. So I don't, things are a little bit different here, is that summer is obviously a different time of the year for us, but it's from December to January. The kids are home for about 8 weeks. And over that time, we also own a farm. So my husband is out at the farm during cropping season. So it's a conscious effort that I don't take clients over that period because it's just too hard of a juggle over Christmas. But that is also, I see that as a really good time to nut out all the things that need to happen. And set down what needs to happen, and look at all the budgets, everything again.
It's very important during this transition that you do exactly what you are talking about doing, is getting your processes very, very tight and doing your autopsy of your project analysis. If you're literally, one of the things that I find is that sometimes a designer is actually not making money on a project and doesn't take the time to find that out.
Yeah, well, this part of the process is every I do it every year over that Christmas period, is to have a look at the prices, and they do usually go up every 12 months, sometimes more.
Okay, good. All righty. So exciting. What would you say? Let me ask Belle. Belle, what would you say to somebody listening? I know you said that you get invited to speak and that you feel like, I don't know how to tell you that what I did, it just happened for me, but it's happened too well. Your Instagram has tens of thousands of followers. You have success. I can hear that you're introverted, and I can hear that you're not willing to really toot your own horn. But you do have a significant level of success between the book, the body of work, the Instagram following, and the blog, which, now you don't even need to really keep up. It built the business. I understand you're not really active on it, right? Talk to one designer out there that would love to be able to sit down today, make an intention, and be on your path in a year or two.
I would say do the opposite to what I did to start with, and do lots of research and have everything refined and ready to go before you start taking clients.
Okay, because it worked for you, but you're recognizing that it was a struggle, or that it was frustrating. What was it?
It's just different. I sound old, but it was pre-Pinterest. It was pre-Instagram. There are just so many businesses popping up because they've decided that they like just decorating their own kids' rooms, so I'm going to decide to decorate other people's. So it's a way of making themselves different. And a lot of the design, I don't know in the US, but a lot of the designers here aren't actually qualified. So if they are able to get qualified and make it a point of difference.
Okay. So you are, you're just really expressing that it can happen by bootstraps, but it doesn't need to. And business and life has changed since then, like you keep saying, pre-Pinterest, right? And so it needs to be. It sounds like that you're suggesting that if you do it with more intention and more thought, it will just be a little bit easier for you.
Yeah, I think so. And it is just, again, for the Instagram numbers to get up there, it is about building a community. So I think that's a good thing to concentrate on too.
Give us some tips on building community. What did you do? Do you, stories is practically, new compared to, your Instagram following, but what tips do you have for building a community on Instagram?
Always respond to people's comments, and like the blog, I've always touched on my family. I share a bit of my family and what happens behind the business as well, so make it really personable. Stories, I love Instagram stories, and I love that I can share a bit more of my personality on stories compared to what I can express on my Instagram page. So yeah, stories, I love seeing other people's behind the scenes, so I try and share that too.
Okay. This is such a conundrum for me. You've said to me before the interview that you're introverted. I can hear during the interview that it is your nature, but yet you love stories and you do stories. And here I am, probably, one of the top 10 extroverts on the planet. And I'm like, it's like pulling nails to get me to do a story. What do you think this is? Like, what is the deal? Why are you comfortable doing stories when you're in, like you said, the behind the scenes of your family and your business?
I think because it's mostly just me. There's no one else that's around when I'm doing it. And it's a bit of the Belle versus Belinda coming out.
You know what's funny when you just said that is I remember Rachel Moriarty saying something very similar. Oh my goodness. She's also an introvert. If you listen to the show, you know exactly who I'm talking about, Rachel Moriarty. She is a friend of mine. She was on the show in the first year. We became friends after that. And she has just completely skyrocketed her business. I've talked about her often on the show. And now you just jogged my memory. She also is a proclaimed introvert, but yet she did Facebook Live every day for over a year. Now it's going on its second year. And I remember now Rachel saying that when she's doing Facebook Live, it's her alone in her room, that she doesn't, and it's so funny because that made me think why I think I have difficulty with it, because I feel like, well, who is listening? Nobody's like, I almost need the feed of the other person to, get going. Whereas an introvert is very fine to do it on their own.
I assume no one's watching it.
Yeah, see, isn't that funny? And I make an assumption that people are going to watch it and be like, this is the dumbest thing anybody ever said. Whereas if I'm talking with you in real life, whether it's like this via Skype or in a setting, I can tell exactly from your face or your inflection or your response if you're enjoying it. Whereas if I'm talking to the camera, I'm like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
Isn't that a funny thing? I think that should be somebody. Wouldn't that be cool if, I bet maybe, I'm going to say this like it's my own bright idea, but maybe it's already happened. But you could see like a college course on social media and somebody doing their, research paper, their thesis on the best stories people or the best video people are actually introverts and the extroverts are way worse at it.
That would be very interesting.
Wouldn't that be? I think I just discovered. Yeah, this because it's I make myself do it because it is you want to. You like you said you want to build your community, and I want to do that, but I also want to engage with my community. It's not even just a numbers thing, but I do. I just look at that camera and go, whatever.
No. Well, I'm on there in my pajamas tonight.
No way. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's awesome. See, that's so amazing. What a different headset. Okay. So this was one of your other things that you did that really created your success, is that you were authentic on Instagram and you weren't afraid to show who you are, what your family is, and what your thought process is, and you're behind the scenes. And so that created the community and the following. So that's pretty cool. One last question I'd like you to talk about a little bit. Since we have talked so much about how your business is going to be looking and transitioning in 2020 with the youngest going to school, tell us about the reality and the process and the challenges that you have overcome and you continue to struggle with running an interior design firm out of your home with 3 little children, because there are a lot of people like you that are listening that are doing the same thing. Tell us about that and how that is.
It is a juggle. I work lots of nights and lots of weekends. My eldest two are in school, and my youngest has 1 day of daycare a week, and then one sort of half day. My dad often looks after him as well, so I squeeze in all the appointments and all the work that I can during those times. But yeah, I don't often sit down and watch a TV at night.
There's no relaxing.
No.
And so do you batch your work? And when you say appointments, a lot of them are probably Skype appointments and things like that for your e-design clients. So do you try and maybe take 5 or 6 or 4 or 5, whatever is doable in a day on that day, and then reserve the actual design work and the creation for that nighttime when the children are sleeping?
Wednesdays, I have a builder that I do new home selections for locally. So often I have to see their clients on Wednesdays.
Okay.
So that does take up a chunk of the time as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So it's hard though. I mean, there must be times when you were on a deadline with an e-design client, and maybe it's just been a particularly, very busy day. Maybe something went wrong with one of the kids. One of them fell and bumped something and it required a whole lot more attention that day, but you have a deadline. And tell us a little bit about that feeling when you just look at your husband and you're like, I have to go upstairs and do this.
Well, I did that tonight because, we've just gone back from school holidays here. So there's been 2 weeks where I pretty much haven't been able to get to the computer. But I mean, the good thing is all my clients are parents and they're really understanding. So they get the juggle. So I am lucky with that. But I also appreciate that I can work from home. And if I get a phone call from school to say one of the kids has fallen over and needs to come home, that I can drop what I'm doing, go get them, put them on the couch, and then get back to work.
You're fine. Here's a lollipop.
Yeah. Watch some TV.
No, I remember that also, that feeling of there were a lot of odd hours that I worked and a lot of weird times that I fit things in, but I also always did appreciate all of that aspect of it too. It being able to volunteer to be the mom on the class trip, because I didn't have to worry about a boss that would or wouldn't let me have yet another day off or something like that. It was it's a nice gift to be able to manage your passion, your job, your business, and still be able to feel like you're looking at little humans and doing a good job by them, right?
Yeah, it is. I don't think there's ever a balance. I don't think work-life balance exists, but it's just about doing what you can and when you can, really.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I say the same thing. There's no such thing as balance. It's just making choices.
Yes.
It's choosing. And I always say, too, that it is making choices each day. But I like to, when I'm coaching different designers that are in this phase of their life, I ask them, which is the priority? Is it the ability to be mom and be engaged? Because look, and you can be a great mom and have a nanny full time, right? You could have a 3-year-old and have a nanny that comes in at 8 o'clock every day. And I did that. I had a nanny from the time that she was born and went to school. But then I also, at that point, night times were off limits. You're doing the opposite. You're spending the time during the day and then nighttime, right? And so the point is, though, that whatever works for you is okay. It's just decide what works for you, and then don't worry about work-life balance. Just always stick to your priority, and the other things are going to have to sometimes not get done or get done less well, or like you said, put them in front of a TV or something like that.
Yes. Well, the house is a mess at the moment.
That's another thing, right? The laundry's not done, and the laundry police aren't coming.
No.
So I used to say, the laundry, how many times I would say there was at least a couple of times when my husband would be like, I have no white socks. I'm like, all right, when I go pick her up from school, I'll pick up white socks. Like, it's a whole lot more expedient than doing laundry right now.
Yeah, it is. It sure is.
We can go to Target and get more white socks. Priorities. That's all it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Belinda and Belle, I've enjoyed meeting you both.
Sounds a little bit weird.
But I do thank you for reaching out to me and emailing me and telling me a little bit about your design business and how you've created such a nice platform and a following and a business for yourself based on your niche of nursery design and children's room design. And I wish you a lot of luck in your transition. And I think that what you should do is maybe put me on your calendar for 2021 so you can talk in hindsight about how your transition went and the challenges that you faced and the things that you did well and the things that you would change in that transition, because that would be a nice show too. Okay.
Yes, so.
All righty. And you got to put one of the markets on your schedule. And when you do come to the U.S. for market, you make sure you let me know you're coming. Okay.
I'll have, no babies by then. So absolutely. 2021.
That's it. Sounds good. Thanks so much. I was going to say have a great day, but it's 1:00 in the morning for you right now. So have a great night.
Thanks, Luann.
Okay, well, we have been told time and time again by our designer guests here and by our Power Talk Friday experts as well that niching works, that figuring out, like Fred Burns says, what is your only? And here you have it from one of your own telling you how it worked for her. And you may remember Cheryl Janis from episode number 41. I haven't talked about Cheryl in a really, really long time. I used to bring her up constantly. If you're a longtime listener, you know that. But Cheryl is one of the first interior designers that came onto the show and we really pulled apart how she was drawn to the niche of wellness design. And she shared that she was very afraid that even though in her gut, in her heart, she knew that's the kind of design she wanted to do, she was very afraid that if she decided to strictly do wellness design, that she'd never have enough clients to support her business. But the thing is that Cheryl described how once she made that leap, it happened just as it did for Belinda. She became known as an expert in the field, and it attracted more and more business to her interior design firm. Cheryl, in fact, since launched a podcast called the Wellness Design Podcast, and she's written a book as well. So the thing is that this also happened for Belle, right? She's home with her child, and she writes this little blog, and little by little, it's gaining traction. Things are happening. People are noticing. She's getting busier and busier. She writes a book, and now she's looking forward to building out her business again. Okay, so some of the points that Belle made. First of all, was about the Instagram stories, right? She said that you have to be the real you. Show the behind the scenes. Some of you are very, very good at this. I know that. I watch your stories. I see it. You know that I struggle with this. What am I going to tell you? But she is an expert at it with over 18,000 followers. I think the advice is solid. So be real, be yourself, show your behind the scenes, show that you're a designer, a human, a real person. Okay. And what I like now is after all of this, with all of this success of being recognized as a leader in this industry of children's room designs, that she's looking forward to the next phase of her life and that she has a plan for these next 18 months to get her business systems fine-tuned. She also said that she's going to reflect and take stock of what has been working for her and what hasn't, and that she is concentrating on building her team, her virtual team and her real-life team, because when her youngest is ready to go off to school full-time, Belle wants to be ready to hit the ground running and continue to expand her firm back out again where it originally was, but this time bigger and with a whole lot more notoriety, right? I love that she's being realistic too, and that she's setting her intention, her goals out 18 months, and that she has begun to take the steps to make them happen. Very smart. I love it. I love it a lot. Now, big news. You heard it, right? You heard about our new sponsor article. I hope you did. We put it out on the show last week, and I want to make sure that you know that article has a trade program and that their trade team is literally made up of interior design industry professionals. Because when you need help on the other end of that line, whether it's a chat line or an actual real-life telephone call, you want someone who understands what's important to you, somebody who knows your language, who knows what your needs are, and they have real authority to get what you need done, from product sourcing and design to invoicing, delivery, and more. Okay? You can get your items fast with Article. This is their goal, to always to get you your order when your project needs it, okay, so that you can meet your deadlines. To be in on the know and to find out about the trade program and all of these benefits and more, become an Article Trade member today. Go to welldesigned.article.com. Okay? It's welldesigned.article.com. Okay? And finally, I have a question for you. How can I help you improve your business? I'm thinking about it. We have 5 months left of 2018. How are you going to spend them? What are you going to do? Okay. Now, I'm not asking you a question, that doesn't require an answer. I'm like, stay with me now. Don't hang up. Okay. Do you want some help in these last 5 months? Do you want to be in a mastermind with me? Let's see. Does this sound like you? Are you ready to grow personally and professionally? Do you have the desire to make the rest of this year extraordinary? Are you ready to be focused and get your business on track? Do you want to reach your goals? How about, do you want to exceed your goals? How about, do you have goals? Okay. Did you have goals for 2018? Are you on track? Okay. Or if you didn't set goals for 2018, there's 5 months left. Let's do that. Okay. Are you finally ready for your desire to be successful? Is it finally more than your fear of change? Okay, I know what that's about, right? There has to be that tipping moment where it's actually more important to be successful than it is to stay unchanged. And it's more important to be successful than it is to be fearful. Okay, so if you're willing to invest time, money, emotion, energy into creating the life and business you want, then you might be ready for a mastermind. Are you ready to learn from your peers? Are you willing to be helped? Okay, if these sound like you, then you might want to be in the mastermind with me. So the groups are forming now. I've been taking phone calls. My team is literally in real time as we're speaking, working on getting the web pages up for these. They may or may not be live this week, okay? But even if they are live, this is why I didn't hesitate to start to let you know about them. Because in order to be in a mastermind with me, it requires that we have a 20-minute phone call to make sure that it's a right fit for you. So it's not something that you can just go to my website and sign up for. So that's why I didn't really care if the web pages are up and live at this time. Of course, there'll be more information there, more questions and answers for you. But the reality is that to get in, you have to spend 20 minutes on the phone with me, because I need to be sure that it's a right fit for you. I can tell you that I've had 6 calls in this last week, and for 2 of the designers, the mastermind will not serve them. Where they are in their business and the needs that they have, I know for a fact will not be met by the mastermind. And I'm not interested in you putting down your money in any place that I know I can't make its money back for you. Okay. So for instance, both of these particular firms, I'm certain that the upcoming Power Talk Friday tour in High Point, along with some one-on-one coaching, will be a much better use of their hard-earned money. So if you're interested in learning on how I can help you in the last 5 months of this year get your business energized, on track, and profitable, go over and email my assistant, Christy. It's CHRISTIE, Christy at luannigara.com. And Christy will make sure that you get set up for a chat with me. okay? Because I want to learn how I can help you be more successful. All righty. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope that you make a move today. I hope that you make a decision. I hope that you will figure out what it is that you are going to do so that the last 5 months of 2018 are really the best 5 months of 2018. All right? Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at luannenigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.